in the form of like a sound wave, right? It's funneled into the ear by the auricle, right? Whenever you want to hear something better, what do you do? Turn your head that direction. But what else do you do? Remember those old things that, I don't know, grandmas and grandpas used to use?
Ear horns.
Ear horns, yeah, that's what it's called. They put that big ear horn in their ear when they were starting to lose their hearing. What that structure was doing was funneling the sound into the external acoustic meatus. That, in effect, is what our ears are doing. Dogs with really big ears tend to have much better hearing. Elephants have great hearing. You get the idea, right? Animals with smaller outer ears are going to have poorer hearing, like possums, right? They can't hear them. Okay, so those sound waves get funneled into the external acoustic meatus by this outer ear, the auricle or the pinna. Travels down this fleshy canal called the external acoustic meatus. And then what happens is this very thin membrane called the tympanic membrane starts to vibrate back and forth just slightly. This first ear ossicle called the malleus is connected directly to the tympanic membrane. And it's connected directly to the incus. And it's connected directly to the stapes. And what's cool about these bones being connected to one another is this. We can get arthritis there. Why can we get arthritis there? It's a joint, just like anything else, right? And these little bones are going to have areas of articular cartilage, and there's some synovial joints, right? Remember, arthritis is just an inflammation of those joints. So oftentimes, individuals can get arthritis in these bones. Not necessarily a painful arthritis, but in a way that those joints become less movable, and so hearing can be affected. Now, this isn't the normal way in which we think of people losing their hearing. That comes as a result of something else. But I want you guys to kind of be aware that these are synovial joints, just like some of those other synovial joints that we've discussed before. Okay? So my point is, the tympanic membrane is directly connected to each one of these ossicles. This last ossicle, the stapes, is connected directly to the cochlea via a membrane called the oval window. It's a membrane on the side of the vestibular cochlear complex. Okay, it's not bone, it's a very thin membrane. And remember that the cochlea is filled with fluid. So when I'm talking about this energy or sound waves traveling through 3 different media, first those energy or sound waves travel through the air, then the tympanic membrane transfers that energy to these bones, and then the bones transfer that energy to the fluid that's inside of the cochlea. Okay, so but we're still only halfway there. So when these ear ossicles begin moving, that stapes moves back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So that starts to move the fluid or transfer the energy that was in the bones to the fluid that's in the cochlea. It's like taking your hand and waving it through your bathtub. What you're basically doing is transferring the energy from your bones, basically, or your muscles moving your bones, right? You're transferring the energy in your hand to the bathtub. And what do you see as a result in the bathtub or in the sun or whatever, in the pool? You see waves, right? And all waves are energy traveling through water. So now we've got this energy that originated in the air or by some other source, traveled through air, make its way to the bone, and now it makes its way through the fluid. So if we go back to our picture of the cochlea, we can pick up the story. All right. So what's going to happen is that round window is going to be connected directly, the oval window is connected directly to this vestibular duct. So the fluid in the vestibular duct begins to move, starts to slosh back and forth and back and forth. But remember, the walls of the vestibular duct are mostly bony, except for that one right here that's made of simple squamous epithelial tissue. Okay? That's called that vestibular membrane. So what happens is as that fluid or that energy starts to move through this vestibular duct, that energy moves or gets transferred down to this next duct, because this simple squamous membrane is going to kind of be bouncing back and forth and back and forth. So that energy gets transferred to the cochlear duct. And as it's being transferred from duct to duct to duct, it's also moving up the cochlea. And the distance in which it's going to move up is going to depend on the wavelength. Okay, we're getting into a little bit more physics, but I want you to understand, even though energy is transferring from duct to duct to duct, it's also moving forward and going up the cochlea as well. Okay?
But it starts with the vestibular duct.
Starts with the vestibular duct. Yes. Okay, we got energy transferred down here. Remember the special structure of the organ of Corti that is located within the cochlear duct. So as the fluid starts bouncing around in here, it starts to bounce the organ of corti. And as the organ of corti bounces up and down, these hair cells come in contact with the tictorial membrane. And remember what I said about the tictorial membrane, or the stereocilia, right? These stereocilia get distorted. When those stereocilia are distorted, this cell communicates with this nerve fiber, generating an action potential in this nerve fiber. That action potential travels down the cochlear branch of the vestibulocochlear nerve, travels as an electrical signal back to the brain, and then the neurons there are going to all communicate via electrical and chemical signals, and then we're going to interpret whatever that is as something that we've heard. I mean, isn't it amazing that we take something, some form of energy, it gets transferred through all these different media, and then ultimately it makes some sort of sense in our head. Not that it makes sense that we're just hearing something. Think about how complex your brains are. You're putting together different pitches, different tones, different people's voices, different sounds. I was home at my mom's house this past weekend, and my sister's got 2 cats that stay there. And I heard one of them yowling and couldn't even see him, and a friend of mine that was sitting on the couch said, "How do you know which one's yowling?" And I said, "I just know." You know, like if you're a parent, you know the different cries between your different children, or you know the different sounds that kids are making based on what their needs are. Think about how complex your brain has to be by taking just those sounds, or just energy, and transmitting it, or transferring it through a bunch of different media, and then processing that different information.